Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome,
Oh.
welcome back to our game. We are, after having refreshed ourselves, I would love to actually explain a little bit of something that we've been exploring through play in the first half of our game, which is that a lot of the fiction we've been playing with has actually been pre-established using a kind of quick start to give us some establishing details about our world. Each pact in Moth-Light comes with its own little quick start, which kind of works like Mad Libs, but with a little more evocative kind of language oriented towards that Pact's theme. So for the Scavengers Pact, it's focused on what caused the world to get the way it is, why you're surviving in it, and what you plan to do about it. With the Promise Pact, it's a little more open world, it's a little more larger structure, and it's about big picture questions. So we've actually constructed our own version of this, and I'm curious if you all would like to go over it for our audience together to kind of reestablish what we pre-established as details about our world versus kind of what we've been making up here in this session.
Sure.
Also to remind us of what our pact is, right? So ages ago, humanity was brought low by the folly of our own hubris. We kind of decided that was the cause of humanity's decline. Something people did in the past led to the current state of things, which is to say a bit more disconnected. A human empire that is no longer an empire by any means. In fact, you may be the last bastions of humanity left in the solar system, for all you know. Does anyone have a thought as to what that statement means? Like maybe some details about what went wrong that have been recovered in the time since? It's fair to say that since this is part of our pact, we know something about, at least, that we did something wrong. Is it simply a legend that humanity was getting a little too big for its britches, or is there something more known about it?
I like the idea of there being like records of similar things to what we're actually receiving now, like this distress call or
Right.
warning. I like the idea of there being like logs from way back when, things that are like pieced
Yeah.
together, and maybe by this time in our kind of like rebuilding civilization, we've like constructed some of the messages almost completely, but like things that are maybe digitally corrupted or things that physically were unable to be accessed that we've slowly been finding out about.
Did we just not heed the message last time?
Something's coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll deal with it. That kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sequa would, based on what she has read and what she has been told, it's more of, for her, or her understanding, it was more of a, they thought that they were going to be fine, and they didn't bother to tell anybody beneath them that something was wrong until it happened.
Oh, they kept it to themselves.
Yeah. Which is an interesting thought, especially, it's kind of a contradiction, like Vholt is trying to get information.
You just want trust issues everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of, Sequa views it very much, has a lot of irony right now in the current situation.
Our establishing details continue. Few records remain of that time, but we know the survivors fled here to Beacon, a twilight realm of ivory rainforests fed by iron-rich water, dominated completely by giant predator moths. Guided solely by the remnants of the network and by Augur, each of our 5 clans struggle to recover the lost memories of our enlightened forebears. So that kind of explains maybe the mystics a little bit, and also what you were saying, Todd, about like we actively are searching for these, bastions of information, records, and like warnings and such. And this is one that we found. Eskur, I see you nodding your head. Do you have any more thoughts on that part of our pact?
Yeah. Sorry. So Canticle for Leibowitz just jumped in my head here, and it won't leave. If you've read that book,
I've not.
Well, the thing I'm thinking of is like we're looking for memories, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like we have to sift through a lot of the stuff, and we don't know what's what. Like maybe we find some papers, and we think they're really important, but it's actually just somebody's grocery list.
Yeah, and our Sages clan, the New Steel, probably is more likely to look into that small stuff more than anyone else. So like hence why you dress like them and stuff. You take everything very seriously, whereas the Fallen Leaf mystics are probably a little more skeptical or detached from the information.
Oh yeah, I love the idea of having like a recipe for like cooking and like taking it super serious and like thinking that something's going to come out of it.
Something is going to come out of it, and maybe cookies.
Think of all the substitutions you have to make.
As someone who has made medieval feasts, that is hilarious.
Or even measurements have changed too. You have to consider
Right.
Add some flour. How much flour? I don't know.
Good luck.
Until it feels right.
Measurements aren't important to baking, are they? Not at all.
Not when it's the same recipe your family's been making for
Right, because
years.
you've heard the measurement over and over. You just need to be reminded that it exists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as Reprieve rises overhead, we who have been brought together by all 5 members of our respected council do swear a sacred pact, a desperate promise to warn the Ember Wish of an impending attack by invaders from the stars. So this is the gist of our quest. This is why we're going out and doing this thing. May it shine brightly over Beacon and ourselves, a symbol of hope for those who struggle in the shadows. I really love what we put together, even though we used a lot of the default choices and kind of amended them in this. This is kind of a new, for people who have been following Moth-Light for a while, this is one of the more new additions to the game, this pact structure and this quick start. And I really liked it. I know in another playtest I'm running, you can come up with some really different things. So like in one version of the game, Beacon is an ice planet, and they're like traveling through the tundra trying to reach this bastion of civilization. And another is the whole game has taken place in Fallen Leaf, and that's kind of been our almost like Blades-like city for a time and stuff like that. So this new structure kind of resulted in a bit more diversity in terms of like what the setting looks like and what you do in it, which I've really liked to see. But with that reminder of what our quest is, we can kind of zoom in on our characters again after the danger has passed. And this is a time where I might encourage you to also look to your downtime activities. Obviously, they'll be influenced by the fact that you're traveling. But that doesn't mean you won't run into people on this journey, since it is Reprieve, the season of Reprieve. And so more people are out and about hunting, gathering, maybe even doing some version of farming at this period of time, like the last of it, harvesting, etc. As you enter Keeper territory, especially, civilization will become more common, and that'll allow you to kind of the liberty of using that to your advantage if you want to. So look to your downtime activities and know that you each get 2 of them, but play doesn't just stop in Moth-Light in terms of like during downtime. Exciting things can happen. You can put yourself in danger depending on how you roleplay things, etc. Does anyone have a thought or any projects they might like to start on this journey, or any information they'd like to gather, that kind of a thing.
I think based on what currently just happened, I think Sequa will want to not necessarily write down for other people to possibly read, but to memorize more so of going over and over and over what every single person's part was of what was said.
Oh, interesting. So you want to have like a perfect like memory of the message such that if it's ever lost, you can repeat it.
That is my job. I am here to speak. So
I love that as a long-term project that in this case will be a relatively short one because it's within your wheelhouse, right? But yeah, start a 4-segment project to memorize the message. And it's probably difficult because it has lots of like information that seems superfluous to you but could be important. You know, there's probably some chatter over what you maybe consider the gist of the message that could be something.
okay, and I think with that,
Yeah, how would you like to work on it?
who would you?
What action?
I think that she would do it with Kettu.
Ooh. You're invited to help memorize this.
Okay.
Is this kind of the way you're trained to memorize things? You mentioned chanting by the other mystics before.
Yes.
Is this kind of a formal thing that you do is like repeat it to each other?
I don't think necessarily repeating it to Kettu because like
Right.
that's not Katsu's job. It's my job. Katsu, sit here in front of me and don't think about anything. I need a sounding board and I need to be able to hear myself in that sounding board.
I love this. If you were an entirely different character, you might have said something very wise there, like empty your mind of distraction or whatever. But no, Sick was just like, don't think of anything for a second.
Yeah, I think Kettu will pretend not to think of anything for sure.
Right, you'll make your face blank, maybe not your head. Mm-hmm.
I can hear that.
What?
Hand me the scroll. It's just you're holding it too tight.
It's made of steel.
Yeah, you are going to start creating a different shape out of it instead of a cylinder. Just hand it here.
So, well, I think Kettu hands it over like,
Thank you.
I don't know.
Nychelle, are you using like maybe a tune to kind of interact with and memorize this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And Eskur, would your character be acting as a friend in this situation?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's a legitimate question based on, yeah, but that's not to say you can't be a, you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Kettu's motivation here is apologize for cats. Is to
With their mischief.
yeah. Kettu wants to see what happens with this message. Like it's boring as just a cylinder, you know.
Mm-hmm. So Nychelle, go ahead and roll your attune. In this case, I think it's 3 dice. +1.
2 3s, a 4, and a 5.
Okay, so that's 2 segments. You have made good progress. What is the part that's giving you the most difficulty? Out of character. You don't have to reveal anything.
I would honestly say getting the cylinder back together because it's kind of bent in a certain part where they were holding it.
Right.
So it's like trying to put it back together, like trying to open it very carefully, and it's just not wanting to bend correctly.
It just looks like steel, I guess.
Or Kettu's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're a bodyguard.
I would like to know, though, as cheeky as that answer is there a part of the message that is like in cipher or something that is difficult for you to actually memorize, or in a foreign language, or it's just like digital information that you still have to like memorize mentally somehow?
I don't think it's as much difficult as it is perplexing.
Right.
Because something that Sequa knows is an important name, which is the true name of the Ember Wind.
Mm-hmm.
And there is mention of something like this and a certain word, and it's the exact same.
Oh, interesting.
It is said to, it's essentially like a phrase that like make the slumberer awake.
Okay. I really like this, Nychelle. You've done something new, which is an important name, which is your trapping that you've chosen, usually refers to your own name, but you've decided that it's the name of the Ember Wish, which I really like. That's new and interesting.
So I think the part that perplexes Sequa, and this could be very much out of character right now, is that a code for like a sleeper agent? Like, what information are we handing this person?
Right. Absolutely.
This is the fate of the world. This is the fate for all humanity. And supposedly they are the only ones who can decipher this. Why?
When you're done, how do you let Kettu know?
Gaslight. I'm not going to let them know that I still have the cylinder for a while.
Oh, like I gave it back to you?
Yeah.
Kettu, are you okay with that, or do you want to resist that somehow?
No, I'll take it, but I think as this is finishing, Kettu like repeats. Yeah, what does Kettu repeat that was overheard that is really like secret knowledge that's kind of unsettling that they know?
I have one to offer you, which is what I alluded to earlier, which is that the aliens have agents here on Beacon.
Okay, then yeah, I think Kettu asked Sequa about the aliens, that they heard so and so talking about in the council chambers or whatnot.
I'm guessing that this is like a few minutes later as you like remember that the cylinder's missing. And she just like doesn't even say anything when you walk up, just hands you the cylinder back. Have you been talking to Vholt? Is that where you heard about aliens was from Vholt?
No, back at the back in the council thing. The meeting.
Are you talking about T.S.E.E.R? T.S.E.E.R is not an alien.
Yeah, I know that.
Are you sure?
So who would I have overheard that has some?
You're very correct. You're very correct. I think what Sequa's doing is they're trying to gaslight you right now.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gaslight. I am just trying to do a lot of misdirection. Be like,
Right.
you're a kid. What are you talking about?
Well, okay. So are you trying to deflect the
Yes.
questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I think Kettu leaves it at that. Like, oh well, I guess this is common knowledge, you know.
Do you bring it up later at camp?
Yeah.
To the others?
That's like you know, what do you all think about the aliens? You know.
I just eye roll.
I think Vholt would kind of turn for a second. He's just like, well, I mean, there's not much to think. The records are very scarce. I mean, when the predecessors came here, they were. I mean, it differs, but they tried to hide it as much as possible.
Seer, do you have any feelings about aliens?
I think he kind of tilts his head back and forth and says, well, if they're the ones responsible for the moth we saw earlier, then we have to be more careful than we thought.
How does Kettu feel? Does that sober Kettu up a little bit? Or is he soberable?
Yeah, I think Kettu does take things seriously every once in a while. If everyone is like, you know, oh, this is some shit we're going on here. So
If you feel too bad, just take a sip of your flask, but only do it responsibly. One sip at a time. Well, obviously that's how you drink, from a flask, but you know what I mean.
Does anyone else have a downtime action you'd like to highlight? You'd like to participate in?
I was curious, from the options, cultivate is effectively the same as like all of the long time. That's what
Correct.
Sequa just did.
Sequa cultivated a long-term project. You can also cultivate relationships. You can cultivate. Basically, it's any kind of long-term thing.
Okay, so the follow-up question, or the thing I would like to know, is this game plays with a unique mechanic called supply.
Yes.
And I'm curious if we start with, or if we have to gather that supply.
You start with 4 supply.
Okay.
So feel free to. I like to add those points and then remove them, just because that makes more sense to me mentally.
Sure.
They do not regenerate. You will have to cultivate them to get more, unless they're offered as like an after, as a reward for some act that you do, or because you specifically said you were, going out to get them in a special way that requires some dangerous rolls or whatever. During this first downtime, a lot of the downtime activities won't make sense, and that's fine. Remember that we can explore plot too. So if you want to go out or have or explore like a leg of your journey as part of this, that's definitely a thing you can do.
Yeah. So I mean, like, we're kind of like montaging a lot, I imagine. The journey is probably long and arduous.
Correct.
There's probably many scenes that kind of can be interjected, like days that just passed uneventfully.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining, could I try to do a cultivate along the lines of um, finding like remnants,
Mm-hmm.
like things, clues that might be undiscovered that might relate to anything we're doing, especially after Kettu brings aliens into this,
Yeah,
because nobody else will tell me.
you might be using this opportunity to find like signals from the network, essentially,
Sure.
that haven't been interacted with in a long time, and see if you can find anything new or interesting in there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to
So,
uncover information.
yeah. Do you imagine this as part of a project or just a scene that you want to have?
I imagine this is probably more long term, like,
Mm-hmm.
and in the sense of that montage I mentioned, like it's probably something that like would come up in between scenes, like showing Vholt like rummaging through something, or like speaking to people that they pass by in passing, but like gathering a tidbit
I
of
like that.
information or something.
Yeah, they direct you and your party to, when you ask about predecessor ruins and stuff, they actually direct you to a hill upon which you can see like a ruined spire, essentially, that you imagine was some kind of ancient antenna or whatever. But it's apparently there's still some life in it and some information, or some access to the network. People kind of feel a little fuzzy when they walk by. There's something off about it, but you could definitely go out and maybe learn a thing or two. Maybe get your bearings at the least, since it's a antenna of some kind.
Sure, maybe it's even one of the landmarks the keepers were telling us about.
It might be.
Um,
How are you going to do so? What action are you going to use?
so I was originally imagining hunt, which
Mm-hmm.
hunt applies to like the searching for artifacts, basically, right?
Correct.
Um,
It
but if
can.
it's more tangible, if there's like a individual place, I mean, study might also be pretty relevant.
Yeah, both would work pretty well. It's a matter of flavor. In this case, though, I might suggest study might be a good first step.
Sure. Okay.
And then seeing what happens, hunt might make sense afterwards. I'm actually going to give this a position, and since we are in a controlled tone, that's going to be the default position. But there's potential for some kind of consequences from this.
Sure.
If you're successful here, basically I'll give you an opportunity to do the long-term project, the cultivate downtime activity, and work on a long-term project
Okay.
relating to this. Yeah.
So for study, I have 3 in insight. That'll give me 3 dice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll push myself, because why not?
I'll allow it.
So let's see what I can get. That's going to be 2 6s.
A critical. That's good, because I forgot to do something which I actually like to do in Moth-Light, which is to present the consequences before the roll. I think in this case it would have been a tension of some kind. But in the future, feel free to help me out with that. It's a little bit of a different, slight twist on the Blades formula, in the sense of like, as a GM, I personally like to say, this will be the consequence if you roll a 4 or 5 or whatever. That way you can negotiate with me and tell me like, that's a crummy consequence, or yes, I would like to risk that consequence, please, before you roll. But yeah, a critical means like, holy shit, this thing is like giving you a vantage point that you would never have just on your own. It's amplifying your attunement to like this immense degree, and whenever you connect to it, you can immediately like feel that this thing can like give you a lot of information about the surrounding environment. So that I'll give you for free, and anyone can have access to that in your group, how they will. But for you, you wanted to do this long-term project. Would you like to describe the goal of that project?
Well, for Volt, it's definitely trying to piece together different parts of information, trying to relate it to what little
Your data
Sequa.
skimming.
Yeah,
Mhm. And you're trying to relate it to your pact.
right.
You're kind of
What
like
little I
you're kind of
know
trying to
about
get
it.
right. But what new will you have accomplished if you finish this project? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Sure.
Feel free to make it big. Like you could learn something that even Sequa doesn't know, right?
Maybe it's yeah. Maybe I am looking into something that I don't understand terribly well, but maybe this is involved in the secrets, and this maybe relates to Seer a bit, but like these constructs, like
Ah, okay.
clearly this technology existed, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's not like it probably isn't how to do it exactly, but maybe it relates to like how they work or where more of them
Yeah,
are.
the nature of constructs and how it's probably interesting, like that. Apparently, these agents of the aliens are using them as well as Fallen
Right.
Leaf. So, like, what's that about?
Yeah, or
Um,
how like where they come from, right? Like finding out that maybe
mhm.
Seer is could be an agent. Like, is that a thing?
Yeah, I'll give you a lot of these answers and more if you complete this project, which I will put at six segments.
Sure. Um, so it says to do it as a fortune roll based on a skill. Yes.
Yeah, so you're going to choose the skill. So this might be, if you want to use Hunt at this point, this might be a good opportunity too.
Okay.
Would you like to include a friend in this, or is this like a solo expedition of sorts?
I feel like I would probably bring Seer along. Like I feel like as soon as I got any whiff of this, like what this data pertains to, or like maybe even I was trying to find stuff out about Seer, having the council tell me that I need to make sure Seer's fine. Because, like, if Seer gets injured or something goes wrong, like, somebody in the group needs to know how to deal with that because it's not normal mending. Like, maybe it was just as simple as trying to figure out, like, what do I do if Seer gets damaged? Like, how can I fix stuff like that?
Yeah, Seer would gladly go along with you. He's doing it. He tells you he's doing it to protect you. But he would gladly go.
Yeah, gain an extra die for having a friend or rival help you in this.
Okay, sure. So that's going to be a 5. 2 segments.
2 segments.
All right.
And yeah, I think I'll give you just like figments of what you learn, which is constructs like this are somehow tied up in the fall. There's something about constructs that like there are warnings, but also is talk of that maybe some of them went rogue or something, but there's also like they were maybe the solution in part to mitigating things from getting even worse.
Sure. And I think Vholt having Seer around would probably relate all information. Like Vholt doesn't feel the need, unlike Sequa, to withhold things. So like just anything Vholt finds out will just be like pouring out of his mouth, and
Yeah.
probably more so like relating it to like any sort of predecessor analogs that Vholt can kind of think of, because we probably don't know individuals from the predecessors. I imagine they're probably like lost to the sands of
Yeah.
time, but like stories about creation, like new steel, like
Yeah, the stories of the origin of the clans is probably a big thing that's taught. There are probably legends about the predecessors, but it's probably a lot of the information is just what you construct from the details of old images or video or whatever kind of a thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
Seer finds this incredibly endearing, and he doesn't know why.
Okay.
I
Just
think
like-
during this time, as Vholt and Seer are playing around in the dirt on the hill, Sequa just goes over and kind of stands next to Kettu and is like, "So, do you find it interesting that the philosopher is digging around and the philosopher from New Steel is the one digging around in the hill?"
And I think Kettu. This is surprised, baby, but it's good to get your hands dirty. You know?
Why is it good to get your hands dirty? Does he feel that getting his hands dirty will bring him any closer to discovering the wrongness that caused all humanity to die?
Yeah, and I think I think Kettu just laughs at that. Like, I don't know how to put it. Like, I'm blanking. And
That's okay. Is Kettu blanking, or is Kettu replying with some kind of witty remark?
Kettu
In
is
your
trying
mind.
to reply with a witty remark. Ooh.
Right.
You know, so, probably a Zen cone.
Are you getting tired at all of Sequa's vagaries and denials at this point in the journey?
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine.
Speaking in metaphors to the non-philosopher of the group, yes, I understand the irony.
Yeah. I think to kind of highlight some of the shroud of mystery that Sequa has put over the group a little bit and in kind of denial, something I'm going to add here is I'm going to take a little reaction from one of our fronts, which is Beacon itself, the environment. And I think on this day, marking and letting you know that Reprieve is ending soon, there is a thunderstorm. And just like a flash rain that drowns out like all sound and kind of all the lovely wildlife that you had been enjoying, the sunny air, out, you know, the nature that you've maybe been admiring, Sequa, outside of the confines of Fallen Leaf, kind of is drowned away in just this downpour of gray and black during the night. How do you deal with this change in weather, I suppose? Both literal and figurative.
I'll let you go first. Esker.
Is it a warm rain?
Yes.
Dancing.
Sequa just stands there, dripping, soaking wet, and just watches Keter dance as the other two are up on the hill, digging in the dirt. Just shakes her head. But there's a slight smile that plays on her lips, maybe, if you look hard enough.
Seer extends a wing over Vholt to keep him dry.
I guess Seer would be less concerned than most by this, given you do not get soggy, so that's a nice perk of being a shell.
I think Vholt probably would have had something that he was probably going for, like some sort of travel, like
right
umbrella, like something that maybe rests on his backpack or something that would extend up to help keep
Some,
things
something
dry.
you something you brought that probably doesn't see much use outside of like keeping something important dry when there's a drip,
Yeah,
in the warren above you or what in the ceiling above you or whatever. But but before you could reach for it, Seer's got you.
Yeah.
Sequa, you're as lovely as this rain dancing that Kettu is indulging in looks. You're not going to be able to put up with this for too much longer. What do you do about it?
The dancing or the rain?
The rain.
Oh.
You can. It's up to you about how much you can put up with the dance, but definitely not the rain.
I think Sequa will go ahead and pull out a map or something, probably of what they've had, of how they were directed, and then just take stock in like where they're going. And
Are you looking for shelter?
I am looking for shelter.
Yeah.
Seeing if there's anything on another hill or something like that. This seems to be very rolly country. And a storm, I would hate to have lightning strike if there's no tall trees either.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to use an action for that? A controlled action?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm thinking, would sense or maneuver work best here, you think? I'm not that familiar with the action rules.
Maneuver. So maneuver is about movement. It's about positioning yourself or getting somewhere quickly. Sense is more about using, your five senses plus, perhaps your sixth sense as well in a more coarse, version than a tune. So, which of those two do you think make more sense for you? Is this about like your footing, and getting to something you can see, or is this more about finding
I think she would probably use
perfect shelter? Yeah, I think that's probably the best option for you. And you'll have standard effect on that roll. The consequence here, though, is whatever shelter you find might not be perfect. There might be something else taking shelter there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2 6s and a 2.
2 6s and a 2, so it's a critical success. You find something, and as you are reaching the outskirts of this ancient city that the Ember Wish is located within somewhere, I'll let you describe what it is you find and why it's perfect.
Ooh.
Is this like a tunnel system so you can like continue your travels unperturbed? Is this does this have like some kind of comforts that you're not used to?
I think she finds something like one of those old military like missile silos type things,
Okay, an old like base of operations of sorts.
An old base that it has underground tunneling that will at least extend a fair distance in the direction that we're headed.
Yeah, it's burnt out as you kind of enter the main silo or whatever, but then you quickly find a passageway that leads further and connects to some kind of underground like tram system or whatever. So you can kind of continue your journey underground for a while. Vholt. This probably feels pretty natural for you.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit weird because I feel like this environment is probably older or like a very different construct.
It's not been reclaimed like your warrens have. Not been made to be comfortable.
Yeah,
for sure. Mm-hmm.
But definitely, yeah, Vholt will like lead the way down here. Probably has like the biggest lantern ready, and definitely goes into stories about. I imagine they probably have like tunnel, like digging, like chants or like marching tunes. You know what I mean?
Like work parties, essentially.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Mhm.
I would like to mark a supply of provisions
Yes.
to make sure that everyone's, essentially fed and watered. And then
Absolutely.
just hands over a bottle of oil to Seer. Like
Yeah.
the rain, like a bottle, like a little palm of wax, and a thing of oil, and is like, you may want to reapply this, otherwise you're gonna start rusting.
So are you Dorothy or are you the Cowardly Lion, Sequa? I'm not sure the analogy we're trying to make here. Who's who? Is Kettu Toto or
Seer will thank her.
Vholt is definitely the Scarecrow. Anyway. It's quite spacious down here. And I think as you enter into this tram system, there's like, we can get some, Fallout imagery. There's definitely some like ruined tram cars with all kinds of ephemera. What has survived of them? What isn't just like deteriorated into nothing over time? Does anyone have any long-term projects you want that might be benefited by being amongst like a ruin, essentially? Or any other downtown activities? That makes sense. Remember, training is always an option as well.
I was gonna say, possibly, I could probably do the training action. I think that Vholt has a lot of experience in like finding things and interacting
Right.
With like mechanical, like physical objects. But Vholt is not trained in attunement.
But you can fix things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Vholt is kind of like very interested being in a group with, I believe Sequa has a tune, and has probably already used it like relatively much, even at the flashback scene with the council. Like the way Sequa is able to interact with Seer is like very much so like on a different level.
Is it kind of enviable to you?
Yeah, I think I think that Vholt kind of like eschewed that sort of learning a lot because, gosh, what?
Might it have even been like privileged skill for like your speakers or some other person in your society?
Yeah, I think both those things. So the speakers, thank you for the word again. I think that they probably use it to a high degree, and I think Vholt holds them kind of like in a poor light because similar to like the unshared information, like the attune, it has a feeling of
it's
like
privileged
secretiveness. That you don't necessarily like, people don't, and they don't share it as much, right? Like,
totally.
So people don't know. But I think Vholt, yeah, being more in contact, even just being in contact, I think with Seer, like makes it a more enviable trait because there's an application that seems very relevant.
Is this a chance to show your own skills though? Here amongst these like broken down trams and stuff like that. Could you maybe get one running again?
I suppose that is possible. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want to make a roll to find out?
Yeah. That sounds fine. That would just fall under cultivate then, yes?
I actually think this is an action roll.
Okay, sure.
And the result of your action roll will determine whether or not it might be a long-term project to fix this thing up
Okay.
or not. But if you get a success here, it might just work, at least for a time.
Would you like an assist on that?
Oh, interesting. Interesting question based on what we just talked about.
Is this a devil's bargain?
I don't know. Is it?
Maybe. So this looks like it would fall into dabble, if I
It would.
am understanding
Absolutely.
skills.
Yeah, to kind of like mechanically free up the structures for these ancient trams, which have in some parts survived, but are impeded by debris and systems that are malfunctioning or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing how Sequa does aid that, besides like walking over and saying like, do it better.
Yeah, tell us, as our sage is like fixing this stuff up, engineering it, Sequa, how do you lend a hand with your
So real quick, before I actually give the assist, can you give me a little bit more information on the construct or machinery that he's working with? Like, were they more of AIs?
I like the idea that it's like a hover tram kind of a thing, that you can tell maybe might still be operable. It's just like been covered in debris, parts of it are broken. It's up to Vholt to actually determine whether or not it can be fixed and how long that will take. But as far as a visual, if this was a military base, as you described, that you found, these would be like the trams that would go in the underground tunnels that would lead away from it. Essentially, it's like the controlled traffic portion. Imagine in modern movies, it's like the Humvees, we see the people riding around on insecure locations, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the version of that.
Yeah. Sweet maglevs.
Out of character, would you suspect that they had intelligent life or anything that once he gets it going, it runs and operates itself on a computer basis?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right. Sequa will come over, and as he's fixing it and just be like, so do you think they have souls?
I'm sorry. Volt's probably.
Do you have a reaction to that? I see on your face a feeling of delight, and I wonder. It seems like something Kettu might respond to, if you overhear it.
Perhaps in the future, but all right.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Vholt.
The soul thing. They might have souls in the future. No, I think Volt's probably doing like almost like manual labor kind of stuff. Like, I imagine that Vholt is not, while being learned, also comes from an upbringing where like you just have to do manual labor, and he's probably like large enough to move around the debris roughly. So I probably have like some sort of like large slab or something that I'm trying to like lift or like push over, and Sequa comes over to ask this question, and I'm like, this is the scrap metal? I'm sorry, what?
The machine. Do you think they have souls? You call yourself a philosopher. I'm trying to have conversation.
I think it takes a second for Vholt to like put two and two together, but he kind of pauses, and he's like, well, I mean, I guess it depends.
Danielle, what's T.S.E.E.R doing at this very moment to kind of like pan over the camera?
Just watching with the hawk eyes.
No, I think he's doing something terribly mundane.
Yeah.
Like
Staring
helping.
at something.
Well, I think he's
Yeah.
doing some kind of like small task, like helping Kettu around, whatever like little rest stop they've made to
Mhm.
like patch something up or something like that. But they're like talking quietly, and occasionally Seer will laugh because Kethu is very funny.
Or yeah.
Yeah.
So let that contrast with whatever you're about to say, Vholt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Volt, he says, like it depends. Any kind of like broadly gestures to like the tunnel system, any, or maybe like something, maybe like a small tinkered object he has on himself, and it's like I've seen many things made. Some of them I didn't see made. Some of them I've seen awaken, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. Uh, there are no books. There are no databanks that I have ever read that relate that knowledge to us. If there are things in this world that have souls that are not born, I don't know if the predecessors had that even. But and you'll kind of look over to Seer. I mean, some things are much more difficult to explain, certainly.
So you were saying the souls could be lost.
I'm saying if there was once knowledge of how to, that could be lost.
It'd be interesting to see if at the end of all of this and all of the humanity, it's simply a lost soul coming home to rest.
In the machines?
Anyway, good job. He just kind of like wanders off.
Crash. Metal.
Vholt, would you like to make your roll with an assist from Sequa? And Sequa, you can explain how you actually help in this
Walk away.
act.
I help strengthen
When you
this
spend your
time.
stress. Yeah. So spend distress, Nychelle.
So that is 1, 2, 4, 5.
All right. You do something, and there's an immediate reaction as like systems come back online. Tell me, what makes this thing now drivable, but even as other systems have to be like shut down or turned off or whatever to make this thing work?
You're saying what makes this?
Yeah, this thing, it works. This is going to be a great boon. It's going to get you pretty far, actually, potentially, and move very quickly, while also offering you shelter. You're kind of reactivating this ancient locomotive in some sense. What systems are you kind of saving just as you have to like shunt energy away from other stuff? Like, based on the conversation we just had about souls, do you have to like turn off the AI compartment of this thing and drive it manually now, or
Yeah,
not?
I think maybe Volt finds something akin to like a generator or like a power cell, and like maybe he finds a small cache of them, and we're not quite able, like the overall system is not going to be able to power up, or like that's pretty far beyond the capacity. But like with this small cache, like we can kind of yeah, like manually. It's not exactly
Mhm.
like loading coal, I would imagine, but it would only power like the one engine, and maybe we have to like
Yes.
do some work, like detach one or like the rest of the cars or something, like make it only as small as possible, so it doesn't like burn out too quickly or something.
I like it. And as lights kind of start to come back, we see arcs of electricity shooting from like the bumpers on the bottom of this thing to what are kind of like tracks here. Um, and as that happens, lights start to come on around you. And this tunnel is lit up. And what looked just like hanging, earth or debris in front of you is lit up by the headlights. And it turns out to be, and I'm actually, as a consequence of this, I'm going to potentially, unless you resist, raise the tone from controlled to risky,
Okay.
which will now be the default tone, as the headlights reveal like another mechanical moth-looking thing deactivated, but like hanging from the seat from the earthen ceiling, like bursting through the structures surrounding this tram is kind of like a, let's say like an antlion-esque kind of like head, like mechanical head, with grasping like pinchers kind of coming down onto the track, maybe even see at one of the trams like in its jaws or something, but it's been deactivated for now.
Sure. And we only see we're seeing part of
Yeah.
this thing, like it came
Yeah, it's just
through.
like illuminating it ominously, like it's like a empty skull or something like that. Like that's kind of the energy I'm giving you here.
Sure.
Mhm.
I will not resist. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, I think Volt kind of probably doesn't see that immediately. I think Volt is more interested in being like, well, it works. Uh, I don't know how far it will take us, and he probably like steps on and like gets to the controls right, kind of
Yeah,
like
and
looks
who
down to
is
punch
looking?
something, yeah, and then looks
Yeah,
up.
who is looking at it? Yeah, I think you're the last one to notice. Then. Who? Yes. Kettu, we haven't heard from you for a while. What are you doing as this is? What are you and Seer doing as this is? We saw a little aside to your conversation, but what were you two doing as this was happening?
Yeah, I think for me, doing some training in the form
Mhm.
of like hide and go seek.
I like
I
it.
love it.
Yeah, yeah. This is amazing. Actually, I have some ideas. Go ahead and mark an XP.
Yeah, I think.
You
Yeah,
happen to
I
be
don't know if
hiding.
it's I don't know if
You
it's
happen to
one
be
or two
hiding.
right now, but
Yeah, I like the idea. If it's okay with you, that you have it's one. It's one XP.
yeah. I just don't know if I'm doing this 2 times or not. Is what I mean.
Oh, okay. You could.
Yeah, I think we can play it out, and I don't know. I'll
Yeah,
decide
let's. We could
if
do
it's
it
worth it.
retroactively
Yeah,
potentially,
yeah,
depending on what happens. But I think for now, as the lights come on, you find yourself like you're in the midst of this thing. Like you were using it. If that's is that fun? Like
yeah.
you were using it to hide in. Yeah. So if you're playing hide and seek, I imagine it's Seer who's the seeker here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair,
Yep. Yep.
Danielle? So how do you react whenever this thing gets lit up?
Uh,
Revealing Esker's revealing Kettu's hiding place as well, I'm sure.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
I think Seer dives at him, like to knock him out of the way.
Fair.
Because I think he doesn't register that it's not alive first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only after he's knocked Kettu away that he realizes that it's currently not moving.
Kettu, your reaction?
I think Kettu is first excited, and then like after the tumbling is done, like looks up and sees the inert. metal moth, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, there's the thing. What is this doing here?
Nychelle,
Yes.
you sense something ominous. And we kind of see stirring a little bit, just like lights flickering in this thing's eyes, like booting kind of a thing, as other lights are like coming to around the tram as well. This tunnel is coming alive again a bit.
More shot.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm giving you. But you
Flickering
can
lights, nothing's behind Sequa.
But-
All of a sudden, moth.
but you kind of sense it in your head that something is awakening.
Vholt doesn't believe me that they don't have souls.
Is there? There's a sense of urgency for sure.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I would like to see how many things are awakening, or if it's something familiar to
You want to
me.
gather information?
I would.
Are you trying to attune to this thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably stupid, but that is what Sequa would do.
I know that, okay? I've been a DM.
Congratulations! This is the first desperate roll of our game. Go ahead and do that. The consequences will be feedback.
Aren't I rolling to gain feedback?
You are. The consequences and the reward will both be feedback.
Okay.
One will be a little more unpleasant than the other.
Fair. 6, 3, and a
You're
3.
rolling so well.
I usually roll very good on dice, sorry.
Ask me a question. This wasn't to gather information, but you were kind of trying to find info, so I'm going to give it to you.
Do I know you?
Yes, this is the adversary, or one of its many agents. Much like that thing flying above, you're pretty sure it was. And it was long dormant. Your meddling has awakened it, or soon will. You might want to get out of here quickly, because this is a big one.
You don't know me. I would like to use gaslighting.
That's going to be another roll to relate to it. What are you rolling? You're in its head, so is this relate now? Is this still attuned?
I would almost say that it's still attuned. It could be
Okay.
relate.
Yeah, you're kind of doing something with the programming of
Yeah.
the same machine. I'll say that that's standard effect. The consequences, like if your work, you kind of want this thing to just go away harmlessly. Is that kind of the idea? Or like fall asleep again?
Fall asleep, yeah.
Mhm. Consequences are that on like a mixed success, that will be temporary. On a failure, it might be more that like some harm might come your way.
Do you have a devil's
This might
bargain
escalate.
for me?
Hmm?
Do you have a devil's bargain for me?
Yeah, devil's bargain is like as everyone else is getting ready to leave and flee from this thing, you will have to get closer and closer to it, and so you'll be the last one aboard the train, I guess you could say.
I don't mind that.
All right. Begging to be rescued.
1, 3, 3, 5.
Okay.
So I rolled a 5.
Yeah. You're using all of your power of suggestion and like attunement to kind of keep this thing asleep and give everyone else an opportunity to kind of ready the tram. But you yourself like are not yet, like you're having to like focus and concentrate on this singular task. Everyone else, you see Sequa like walk towards this thing. Like, what does this look like, Sequa? Is your hand out raised? Is it literally just like a show of confidence? You just like, you just kind of saunter up to it with your eyes locked on it. What is the deal? We can see the thing's starting to stir now, like earth is starting to crumble around it.
I think you just see Sequa go and put her hand on it and just go, shh.
Yeah.
And then she just like, her lips are moving, but nothing's coming out.
Mm-hmm. The other option here, I didn't offer it to you, but as you know, you have this always, is you could resist the consequence of it being temporary if you want.
I will resist that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to gain as much distance as possible at the moment.
Yeah.
And how would I roll a resist again?
In this case, your resistance is going to be, I think it's insight, because you're trying to reprogram this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's trying to fight back.
Okay. 1.
A one.
I rolled a 1.
Uh-huh. And as you place your hand on this thing, it literally does just go dead again.
Okay.
And that is where we can get like if we want to get like a cool shot, it's of you just like calmly walking back to the tram after everyone else has kind of like quickly gotten it ready or whatever. Though I'll let you all tell me what you were doing. But I like the idea of Sequa kind of like sauntering back as if it was nothing.
Meanwhile, on the verge of a psychotic break.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
a voice speaks out from the tram. All aboard.
Yeah. I think Vholt was just getting everything ready.
Uh-huh.
I think as Sequa kind of like just enters onto the tram and is like, we can go. And as it kind of starts moving and whatnot, she kind of sits down and then, in case you are wondering, Vholt, some do have souls still. And then just leaves it at that.
And then Vholt sees the thing. Oh, whoa!
Looming over you like it's a Universal Studios
Yeah.
ride.
You know, the tram has to go like underneath of it, you know?
Oh yeah, it adjusts. It moves around it for sure. There's like it arcs and like moves off the track briefly, that kind of a thing. You can do that, let's say. But as our kind of closing music, because I know we're coming to the end of our stream shortly, starts to play, we have some moments where characters can kind of give parting words here before we go into our XP ritual for the end of session. How was your ride, everyone? This is that one scene in Final Fantasy where we get all the characters. The characters go on a tram ride, and we get to have like reflection and flirtation or whatever you want to happen here. We kind of get establishing shots from above ground, like insinuating how far you're traveling, by a bird's eye, even though we can't see you. And as you get closer and closer to this ancient city, the terrain starts to become more uneven. We see like structures poking out from the earth, some of them half collapsed, some of them broken, etc.
I think Vholt will speak to Kettu and kind of like, they said you knew Ember Wish, you were an acquaintance of them. What exactly makes you so sure they haven't moved on?
So I guess Kettu responds like, do you mean, are they still alive? Or
Vholt kind of, like, maybe his eyes widen a little bit, like, I hadn't considered that option. I hope they're not dead.
No, I think they're too ornery to die. But no, I think we'll find them where we're going, or find a way to them. They always return to this place.
Did you meet them here?
Meet and lived for I don't know how many years.
Well, we'll just kind of nod, I guess.
Yeah, and Kettu, like, pokes the floor of the tram, like, so you so this thing, how does it work?
Oh, it's incredibly simple, and Vholt will start drawing very complex diagrams in dust.
You explain electromagnetics to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's exactly
and I
like
think-
water.
and Kettu just asks things like, does it eat,
I look at Kettu, look at Sequa, like, these are such strange questions you all ask. Have you seen T.S.E.E.R eat?
And look at T.S.E.E.R and like, do you eat?
I haven't since I woke up.
I can hear the child like, wow, just in the background.
Yeah, it's a combination of that and, oh, but I like eating. It's fun.
Sequa, on your trip, you probably have plenty of time to reflect on what you just did to that thing. And then amongst you have T.S.E.E.R. And I wonder if it comes up in your mind or anyone else's mind what you might do to T.S.E.E.R if the need arose.
Seer thinks it.
Yeah.
Sequa probably thinks that nobody else saw, but then again, Seer would be the one to see it.
Right.
I think the only thing really playing around in Sequa's mind is she just quietly sits there is that voice talking in her head. And it's just quiet.
And the music on our episode kind of gets a little louder as peace kind of falls on the tram. And we're going to go to our end of session ritual. If you all look on your character sheets, on the right side, there is a section for XP triggers. And just like in Blades in the Dark, there's an end of session ritual to establish some details about our game, to kind of go over the happenings and reinforce things about our character. So starting with going clockwise from what I can see, so Nychelle, Esker, Tog, and Danielle. Let's answer these questions in that order. You expressed your background, drive, or beliefs. Sequa, do you think it applied to you today?
Okay.
Can I interrupt one moment really quick?
Uh-huh.
As long as I think we're basically wrapping up for the stream.
Yes.
I guess I'll try to start the giveaway, the raffle.
Oh, yeah.
I have not.
Let's do that before we do our XP, and we can announce.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
start it, and then people could enter while we do the XP really quick.
That's a great idea.
And I don't know exactly how this works, so hopefully it does. But let me see if I can do this.
We're going to roll a random die just for you.
Let me see. Does this do it? Okay. So I clicked a button. and I don't know if it announces it.
Hmm. I didn't see anything pop up in chat personally.
Yes, I have not seen anything yet. If you guys want to try for me, it will be typing in exclamation moth to enter. Okay, it is logging entries. So if you go ahead and type in
Yay.
exclamation moth, we'll have everybody who goes ahead and do that entered into a raffle, and we'll pick somebody after the XP to receive a copy of Moth-Light.
Woohoo!
Exempting ourselves.
Yeah.
That was just a demonstration. Excellent. So, Nychelle,
Yes.
you said yes, but would you tell me how you expressed your background drives or beliefs in the session, possibly multiple times? Other people can also chime in for you.
Boy, I'm never good at saying I earned XP.
Uh-huh.
But
You definitely kept to your like secrecy thing, and
Yes.
you reinforced the mysterious element of your character.
I think I reiterated belief a lot, but also an aspect of a little bit of these people are important, even though they
Mhm.
may be a mental hindrance. Maybe, who knows?
Right.
Totally not looking at Esker's character. So I would say for that I earned 2.
I would agree.
Struggling with issues from your harm, doubt, or mark. I don't believe I have any.
That's right. You haven't earned any yet. You could have earned harm today, but you did not. So you wouldn't get one for that. All right. Esker, did you express your background drives or beliefs for Kettu?
Yeah. I think we had a lot of stuff with Kettu's background, with the background with Ember Wish, and also the the beliefs about getting people to lighten up.
Yes, agree.
Yeah, I don't think any for the second trigger.
Well, it's if either of those happen multiple times. So it could just be your background multiple times, your drive multiple times, etc. And we certainly, establishing information about your character in the first episode definitely still counts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just made the trigger for harm, doubt, and marks.
Oh, right. No,
unless,
probably people that'll be low on today's episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. How do you get doubt?
Actually, you potentially get it as a part of this ritual. So we will get to that very shortly.
Okay.
That said, you'll still need to suffer from it in a next episode. So XP wise,
Okay.
that's correct. Tog?
Well, I think beliefs came up a little bit more shallowly. I didn't necessarily press.
I would argue Sequa specifically asked you about your beliefs and you engaged.
That's true. I mean, in a more broad sense, I was assuming belief meant more directly the Pact belief.
It does to some degree, but we can kind of mince words here. So your belief is secret is destined. Sorry, that's not sequence. Your belief is the message is tenuous at best. The Ember Wish will surely require evidence.
Yeah.
So you would tune to that device.
Yeah, I
to
was
get more evidence.
Trying to find stuff for sure. I think my background though definitely like comes out. Like even if the
Absolutely.
belief or like my interaction with the Pact directly hasn't built terribly, I think Vholt has a pretty solid like background basis or like
Yes.
interaction with the world. So I would say
I
2
agree.
for that. And like most others, I don't think we really had
second
struggles or
part will come
flaws.
up today.
Yeah.
If we have a more action-packed episode next week, that's going to be more likely to come up. Danielle, for Seer, did you express your background, drives, or beliefs?
I think so. We established how he got put into this group and what that looked like. And I think I acted on his drive for connection.
Absolutely.
In terms of helping people and protecting people and generally just I don't want to say just being friendly, but my words are failing me today.
I understand what you're going for.
Yeah. So I will take an XP for that, I think.
Nychelle, does
Yeah.
Sequa remain true to the Pact?
I think she did.
Do you have doubts?
Doubt is a new thing for me.
So it's a mechanical thing, but here I'm actually asking you narratively. Does your character have doubts about the Pact itself or the people in it?
I wouldn't say the people themselves, but the mission itself may be different. It may be not what we think it is.
That's a pretty good doubt. Mark 1 XP for remaining true, and record 1 doubt. A doubt is a short statement, basically describing exactly what you just did, like describing what your doubt is. When you get 3 of them, you can kind of enter into a crisis mode where you have to act out on it. Before then, you can engage in a downtime activity designed to kind of relieve you of those doubts and connect you to your party members. It's also a way you can get XP, is by releasing that doubt. The longer you wait, the worse it could potentially get, but also it might be more dramatic. and it takes fewer downtime actions to do if you wait longer. So there you have it. That's our first doubt. What are you gonna write down?
I said we may be a good pact, but our mission may be wrong. ...
Excellent.
Sticking with the ominous theme, it seems.
I love it. Eskur, does Kettu remain true?
Yeah, I think Kettu remains true.
Does he have doubts?
Yeah, I think so. It's something like, can I actually lift everyone's spirits?
Yeah, though you struggled with that in this episode.
Yeah.
The only one who you have a lot of success with is the robot, interestingly.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out some tactics to get people to lighten up. So.
Tog, for Vholt, did you remain true?
Yeah, it's definitely super early into this. I don't think there's any reason to not be a part of this, except for the now looming threat that Ember Wish has died. I don't know where that came from.
Do you have doubts, or is that one just kind of like...
No, that's a joke.
A fun narrative beat, yeah.
No, I don't think that Vholt has any doubts at the moment. I think Vholt is far more distracted by the things being presented to him, or like the things in front of him to investigate, rather than seeing any of the things, because he definitely doesn't have the links that Sequa has to like the attunement or like understanding. Like he hasn't had that, and Sequa, I don't think, is going to run around saying that thing was very dangerous and it almost woke up. So yeah, I don't think so. Except for, I mean, like we were told, be careful, and that has been repeated by Sequa with our
Yeah.
moth run-in, multiple moth run-in, I suppose.
Yes.
But that seems more like affirming, I think. Like, yeah, okay, that's what
I
they
can
told
see
us.
that. I can see that with Vholt.
So yeah.
Danielle, does Seer remain true to the Pact?
Yes.
And do you have any doubts?
Yes.
What would that be?
Do I have enough of a soul to keep me safe from Sequa?
Oh. That's going to be a fun one to explore, potentially. Does anyone, really? No, I like that question. With that, you get an XP. And please record that doubt in the doubt section.
Yeah.
Technically, some of us still have some downtime actions, so make sure you mark how many you use this session. Some of those could even be used next session to relieve that doubt. And I'll probably give you an opportunity to do that before we kind of move time forward and see what happens in our next season. But for now, this has been a great introductory episode. I liked how we really got to feel for the characters in roleplay with one another. Anyone have any highlights from this episode to take us out? Lots of praise for Seer in the chat.
Yeah.
I see throughout this game.
Yeah. I'm personally attacking Ashlyn, is what's happening there in the chat. I really like the image of Sequa deactivating the moth at the end. I think that was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I wish we had more lizards.
You want more lizard? You want more
More
sand
lizard
lizards?
hordes.
Yeah.
Herds. Excuse me.
I heard Moth-Light, and I was like, yeah, moths, this is fine. It's all been mechanical moths so far, and I am like, I was not expecting this, but I could be into this.
Listen, it's not the season for moths yet. Soon we'll have both.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Won't that be exciting?
You'll have
Mechanically
fleshy
augmented
ones.
ones.
And shiny ones, both.
Maybe they'll fight each other. Sequel, make them fight.
You don't believe in me.
That's true, yeah. That's a bunch of hocus pocus.
Exactly.
No,
I think it's interesting. My character is just being a hard ass all the time. And then does something as like handing Seer, hey, you may want some oil. don't rest.
That's right. I forgot about that part.
Don't rest on me and leave me with these people. But of course, it would never come across that way. It'd be like, no, you do self-maintenance on yourself. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think he was thankful. It's just like, oh god, this is something I have to do.
Yes, I liked that, Nychelle, you chose to attune the thing even after I gave you the big GM, like raised eyebrow for doing the thing. Thank
Always
you.
make things worse.
Appreciate that. And I also really liked the establishing flashback that we got to the council chamber. And thank you, Danielle, for rolling with some of my suggestions as far as like I've kind of been thinking of Seer as a little bit of a humor device in some scenes, and I hope that that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
your character's kind of lovely and whimsical, so I wanted to play to that.
Poor Kettu.
That's true.
Kettu, you've lost your humor role.
Oh no.
You're gonna have to start
You
cracking.
can get it back. You can be the humor king again.
Don't worry, I'm too much of an angst gremlin to like
Mhm.
really take over the humor role.
We won't. I mean, the moment we see Seer ripping into a moth with robotic claws, I think that it will be revoked.
No longer
for the
funny.
rest of the game.
It's not
funny. Right. As soon as we see that hidden weaponry Seer has inside of them somewhere, I'm just waiting for you to describe Seer transforming into some horrible creature. Thank you, everyone. If we have a winner for the lottery, for the giveaway,
Yeah.
I have a key ready for them.
Yeah. I did end it while we were wrapping up the XP right there. It had been 12 minutes. It is Reverie
Do we have a
School.
drum roll?
Oh, no, I said it.
No, sorry.
Oh. Wait, drum roll. There we go.
Thank you.
So yeah,
What was it again, Todd?
Reverie's cool.
Reverie. Congratulations, Reverie. You get a copy of the beta version of Moth-Light as it is now, which will also give you access to any future revisions to the game, including up to the full release.
It's a very cool game.
I will message you somehow. I will whisper you softly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If that's
How
fine.
am I
if
going
you
to do
can-
that? Is there another way?
No, you can do
Is
that.
there a better way, Todd?
No, I just didn't know who would. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
you can DM on Twitter,
How do I? Well, once I figure this out,
Twitch.
I am a novice in Twitch chat, so
I think if you click on the name.
Click on their name, you can add friend or you can whisper to them.
okay. I will figure it out. Also, Reverie, if you want to whisper me because I'm such a Luddite, that's also welcome.
Yeah. So that's all of that.
Thank you, everyone, for attending the first session of Moth-Light. I really look forward to the next few sessions of our game and seeing how it evolves.
Yep. And for anybody who tuned in at the end or is looking forward to this in the future, we will be uploading these all onto YouTube. So this episode will be split into two parts, I guess. We had only the one break. And uploaded as soon as I get a chance. And I think we can do outros really quick. Starting with Justin, you can let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can all find this game and more on moth-lands.itch.io, where I also have other projects I've worked on in the past, from Saviors of Hogtown, Sword Dream Joint, to Cthulhu Deep Green, my take on conspiracy horror using the Cthulhu Dark system as a template. You can also find my tweets when I do tweet on @Mothlands on Twitter, one word. And it's been a lovely honor to GM and host for you all tonight. Thank you. Nychelle, you want to go next?
Absolutely. I am Nychelle, or known in the Blades in the Dark server as Mistletoe Kiss. You can find me on Twitter at Mistletoe T-Rex, or you can also head over to my website, voidalspace.com, where I write game content and also play test different games. Also, a little bit about the Discord server. This is the official Blades in the Dark server. We have a very large active community. Games such as this lovely Moth-Light and many more have been created or done in collaboration or in some sort of context within the server. So head on over there. We would love to see you. And until next time.
Yeah, I couldn't do Moth-Light without y'all. Thank you, Nychelle.
Of course. Eskur, I'll pass it over.
Sure. I'm Esker. I make games. You can find my website at eskur.dev, and my itch is eskur.itch.io. I have Blades character sheets and a weather toolkit for Blades, and encouragement for trophy. And I'm working on some other things right now.
Cool.
Danielle?
I've been Danielle. You can find me on the internet at RedTailTalk90. You can find my Animorphs-inspired Forged in the Dark game at RedTailTalk90.io.
That's right.
You can listen to it being play tested on Dumb Kids Playing Hero. You can find that on Twitter at DKPHPod. And if you're interested in the myriad projects that I do with my podcasting guild, you can find us on Twitter at Stones_standing. Thank you.
Beautiful.
And then I am Travis. I'm just a nerd who plays games. But you can find me on Twitter, also itch.io and DM's Guild, all at Octosplosion. And I just hang out on the Discord.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And I hope that everyone has a lovely evening. It's sweltering hot in this room, and I've been waiting to turn on the AC, but it's blowing right. It would blow right on the microphone. So enjoy, and we'll see you in a week.
See you all later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.